All right, guys, we're back. Week 2 of our little mini series called Reset. Sorry if I'm speaking quietly. I got a baby sleeping in the other room right there, and my wife reminds me that I'm the loudest human she's ever met on a regular basis. So I'm trying my best to be quiet right now, but that doesn't mean I won't have energy. All right, here we go. So last week we looked at resetting your heart, kind of that act of repentance, resetting, getting ready for everything to kick off, right? Family life, sports, school, maybe an increase in workload for wherever you work. Church life's about to take off, all these small groups, everything meeting in person, gathering, stuff like that. And so we looked at kind of starting off everything right with like a heart of repentance, kind of like a reset, like a refresh. And today we're looking at resetting our habits. So our text is for this week is Romans chapter 12, starting at verse 1 and 2. It says this: "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." So I feel like this passage is like often quoted, but then it's like incredibly difficult if you think about the context of like what he's actually saying. He's literally saying that we need to, our entire bodies, our life, our soul, our mind, our hearts, every single action that we do needs to be a sacrifice towards God. So like a living sacrifice, right? Like obviously he's referencing Jesus on the cross. And so he's saying like, as Jesus sacrificed himself for your life, you should sacrifice your life for him. Now, in reality, that's like impossible. And I'll tell you kind of how I like to think about, maybe it's not impossible, but it is very difficult. And let me tell you how I like to kind of reframe things to think about this so that it makes it easier, almost like bite-sized. So I have this friend of mine, a good mentor of mine, who talks about spiritual change and kind of like the process of sanctification, meaning becoming more like Jesus. This what Paul's talking about, to offer your body as a living sacrifice. He talks about it like cleaning rooms, and the analogy he uses is like, let's just say you threw a huge party, right? You got a huge house, throw a fat party, and every room was used in the party. He's like, how do you go about cleaning the house? Do you try to clean the entire house, every single room at once? Like go from room to room to room to room? He's like, no. The way that you do it is you clean it room by room, right? So you clean the living room, and then you clean the kitchen, and then you clean the family room, and then you clean the bedrooms. Like you do it room by room. And the point is, similarly in our spiritual life and in our actual life, like we've collected baggage over the years, right? Me and you have been formed spiritually, or practically even, by the ways of the world, right? So pride or greed or alcohol or sex or you name it, you've been formed in some way. And the process of following Jesus is reformation. It's reforming you back into your original design, which is to be a son or daughter living in perfect unity with God. But how you go about doing that is not to try and clean the entire house at once. Your life is the house. It's to clean it room by room, right? And this little practice just makes it a lot easier whenever, if you're like me, you notice like everything wrong about your life. You notice like where you fall short in your marriage, where you fall short in your actions, where you fall short with your time at work, where you fall short with your friendships, where you fall short with loving your kids, where you fall short. Like you notice every single area. And so this makes it way more bite-sized to go, hey, I know that I'm not perfect, but it would be impossible for me to try to change every single thing about me at the exact same time And instead, it's better to focus on one area at a time, to kind of like gauge all your focus onto one specific section, one specific area of your life that needs radical transformation. And honestly, for me, how I've gone about doing that, my entire walk since I've learned this analogy, is I spend time in prayer, and I literally sit before God and I ask him, like, what room needs to be cleaned? Like, he knows my rooms. I know my rooms, right? I know where I'm short. I know where I say things I shouldn't say. I know where I'm prideful. I know where I'm arrogant. I know all of those areas. And so does he. And so it's a conversation between me and him to sit together and to go, hey, where is the area that I can start offering my body as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to you, not conforming to the pattern of the world that shaped me, but conforming by being transformed by the renewing of my mind, by that cleaning of the rooms. Then I'll know what your will is, the good, pleasing, and perfect will. So hopefully that's like a really easy, like practical tool. The other thing I thought of for this was, I was reminded of Bob Goff. And I don't know if you've read any of the Bob Goff books, like Love Does or Everybody Always or whatever his other books are. But he kind of uses this other analogy of a quarter turn. And it's this little metaphor that basically means like small intentional changes in your life have a huge impact, right? So think about it in that kind of combining it with that room analogy. Think about if you worked on this area of self-control in your life, right? Let's just say like, maybe you're not like, whatever, drinking like in crazy excess, but you notice like, you drink a little bit too much on, it's like starting to slip into the weekdays or something like that. And you take this practice of like, hey, I'm going to try and clean that room. I'm going to work on self-control here. That little quarter turn of self-control in an area of like, maybe over drinking or overeating or, too much candy or something like that is going to help you quarter turn other areas of self-control, right? It might help you quarter turn. You might be just cleaning the room of, like, I'll just stick with the drinking example. You might be cleaning the room of drinking too much. And then that's going to clean the room of like where your eyes go whenever you're out and about at the beach or something like that, right? Because you're practicing that act of self-control. And it's these little quarter turns that Bob Goff talks about, where he notices like you and me, we don't need to overhaul our entire life to make a difference. Instead, it's these little shifts in perspective, this little shift in effort, a little shift in direction, like a knob turning, just a quarter turn, that will open up new opportunities, improve your relationships, and even like change conversations with people. And so 2 analogies for you this morning. One is, don't read this passage, Romans 12, and just go, that is like physically, virtually impossible for me to do, to offer my entire body, my heart, soul, mind, strength, literally everything that I have as a sacrifice to God. It's almost impossible. Instead, think about it like, if that's the end goal, how do I get there slowly? Because it's going to be a slow process, right? So you go slow. And so you clean rooms and you think quarter turns. And so the application for you, I mean, it kind of is in there, but what area in your life, what room do you need to clean that you feel like God is telling you and reminding you and kind of even bringing up in this as I'm talking? What area do you need to clean? And the other side of that is, think about the quarter turn. Like, how can you just kind of little adjustments in these areas and over the long haul to see how it will transform your life? That's it. I love you guys. Reset habits. That's what we're talking about. We're just thinking about resetting our habits, resetting how we live our lives, how we walk, how we live, how we breathe. And Romans 12 shows us the answer. So anyway, see you guys.